Hi, this is Maria Nodoff with the Orangevale History Project. I'm here with Ken Benedict, our videographer. Today is March 7th, 1923.
I'm doing it again.
Okay. Hi. Hi, I'm Maria Nodoff with the Orangevale History Project. I'm here with Ken Benedict, our videographer. And today is March 7th, 2023. We're here to interview Jerrene Gauldin Spears, who lived in Orangevale most of her life and has a marvelous story to tell us.
I hope.
Jerrene, could you just tell us what year you were born in?
1944, May.
Okay, thank you. So, where were you born?
I was born in Sacramento.
And where were your parents born?
And my mom was born in Medicine Hat, Canada, and my dad was born in Spokane, Washington.
And when did they move to this area?
My mom moved when she was 2, moved to San Francisco. And my dad moved here when he was 15.
Mm-hmm. And so when you were born, did you move right to Orangevale or did you live somewhere else?
For a couple of years, we lived in down where the old Army Depot was. We had a ranch there, and they took it by eminent domain. Mm-hmm. And then my dad got, I had 2 older brothers, and my dad got drafted in the Army. And this was 1945, and he was out at Beale, in fact, and the war ended, and he got to come home. Mm-hmm. So then when I was 2, we moved to Orangevale and built a home, and he just kept, making it better and better.
So your family history, I understand that you had a feed store.
Yes, we did.
Will you tell me about that?
Yes. I'm trying to think of the years, and this will be close, but I believe it was in 1956 and the situation with the feed store, it was owned by the Plummer family. And they had a son named Jerome who was, I believe he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I think that he was only 29, so they only had one son. They owned this large feed store, and their home was connected to it. And I think what happened with us, and this my brother just passed away last year, and I'm sick about it because he really knew about this. He was 6 years older than I. But anyway, I feel they bought the inventory from this feed store because the Plummer family stayed there and lived next to the feed store. I think we bought all the inventory and rented the feed store itself from them. And we had that until I was 14.
And what was it called?
It was the name of it. I honestly don't know that the name changed from the Plummer feed store. I'm not honestly sure. I, again, would love to talk to my brother, but if it did, it would have been Gauldin's feed store.
And where was it located?
It was located right there on Hazel Avenue and Greenback Lane, mm-hmm. Kind of where the Capri Market was, and now I believe it's Walmart that's there in that area.
So it was there before the Capri Market, or was it?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The Capri, as I know, was Mr. Wu. Mm-hmm. Charlie Wu lived on the corner and had that little market right there. And then beside that, there was a real estate office owned by King, Mr. King, Art King. And then next to that was the feed store.
Okay, so I was given to understand that the Sicardis had that feed store.
They bought that from us, okay. And then they moved it. In fact, they bought, that's why I'm quite certain it was a merchandise, because the feed store stood even with no, it was closed, and Sicardi moved it to where it is now, mm-hmm. Up on the hill. And but they bought the business from us.
So did you ever work in the feed store?
Yes, but I was pretty young, but mostly socialized. But I did stock shelves and do things.
And what was in there?
There was just a lot of feed for cattle and rabbits and just the general. It really and antibiotics and it had a great big ramp that went up the front that you walked into, and on each side were 2 huge openings. So if I even thought about trying to draw this for you, maybe at a later date, but all the feed was back inside and around the edges and, stacked here and there. And then there was an office. As you walked up this ramp, you kind of went off to your left, and there was a fair-size office, probably as big as this room, and it had the cash register and a safe and, just a decent little office. However, all of this was connected to this home of the plumbers, and they had a door connected so they could come right in and out of their home. And of course, that was, locked or whatever from the time that we bought it. But anyway, the openings that I'm speaking about, if it makes any sense, my brother and grandfather and Dad would bring the feed to the end of this, and then they would get it and put it into the vehicles of the people. It was a good business, a lot of happening there.
So you did not sell hay?
Yes, they did. Around the back, they would bring a hay truck, and then we had hay. But I remember it being stacked in there.
Do you remember any of the customers?
You know what? I'm sure I would, because I knew just about everybody in town, and everybody that had animals shopped there. So I'm sure I would have known a lot of the customers. My grandfather, like I said, worked there. He worked there full time, and my mom worked there full time. And my brother, he was just ending high school, and I think he was half days or something like that in high school, and he worked there. So there was the three of them that worked every day just about. And my dad was a millwright up in Calida Lumber Company in Auburn. So he kept that job, and worked up there most of the time. He worked on the weekends there, but. Mm-hmm.
So where did you go to school?
I went to, will be interesting. I first went to the Old Roberts School. That was first and second grade. And then I went to Orangevale. No, wrong. I went to the New Roberts then for the third and fourth grade, and then they were transferring us. We didn't transfer ourselves, but the school district was doing this. Then they moved us, or my age, to the old Orangevale School, and I was there from 5th and 6th grade, and then 7th and 8th grade they moved us back to Roberts, and that's where I graduated from. And then went to San Juan High School. And
do you remember any good friends or playmates that you had? Classmates?
Yeah, I do. There's Carla Compton of the Compton Market. She lived right across the street from the Orangevale School. She's since passed away. Just one. Oh gosh. Jody Stovall was my best friend from 5 years old. And we went most of the years we went through school together. Margaret Hetherington, Eileen Hall. I mean, I could just keep going almost.
Eileen Hall?
Yeah.
Because there was a whole family who lived it had a house in what is now the Walmart parking lot. I think they were all boys. I think they were all boys.
I would still have known him probably. Mm-hmm. Baldwins lived right there. The Baldwin family, they had 4 boys.
One of the boys called him Greg.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I went to school with him.
Did you? There you go. Greg was the baby of the 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good family. The dad was a highway patrolman. Anyway. We were very close as a family with them. We did picnicking and, I don't know, just different things with them and a few other people right there.
Did you participate in powwow days?
Yes. We did.
What did you do? Did you have a float? Or
my brother did at an older point, and I saw some pictures of that recently, and he really did a great job. He had made a float with a great big, the name of their little softball girls team was the Yellow Jackets. So they had this huge big yellow jacket on the back of their truck, and the girls all riding in a wagon behind, or a trailer behind him. It was darling. It was really good. I rode my horse in it before when I was really younger, and I think walked in it before. I mean, it was just a big deal. Powwow Days was a huge thing for Orangevale.
Where did you keep your horse?
And we had 5 acres and this room all the way around us too. That there were some places, some of them didn't have fences even, so you had a lot of riding room. I rode it to the river with I think we were like 10 or 12 of us that rode together. Get up at 5 in the morning and ride all day. Take a peanut butter sandwich and say, "See you later, Mom and Dad." Get home at 6, dark at night almost. Just the way it was. It was a wonderful way to grow up.
Were you part of the Twin Lakes Riding Club?
No, I didn't. I wasn't in a riding group. Just all teenage kids or younger. I started riding when I was 4, so. Just rode on and off with all my buddies. It was great. It was such a wonderful place to grow up. It was just wide open. We used to just do Hazel Avenue as kids. I mean, you're talking 8 or whatever, and we'd go out there and play hide and go seek or whatever. But we'd get down on Hazel Avenue, and we'd lay in the road. And there were no cars and no cars and no cars. And the game was, if a car came, the headlights from way far away couldn't hit you. Or, of course you were dead. That was but that's how long we lay in that, in the middle of Hazel Avenue. There just was no traffic.
And it wasn't paved, or was it?
Yeah, it was paved. It was a 2-lane road. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
was Greenback paved?
Yes, and it had those palm trees along the sides that right there on the corner of Greenback and Hazel. They had a bar. I think it was a Holmes bar, and then a barber shop next to it, and then a grocery store. And I think the bakers owned the grocery store. There were 3 buildings right next to each other.
On Greenback?
On the corner of Greenback and Hazel.
Okay, was that before the public market? Or the Capri?
No, that was across, yes. Mm-hmm. And across this, let's see if I can get this right. This is Greenback Lane, and this would be Hazel. And Hazel goes all the way across like this. And it was right on this corner, over here.
So
Capri, and then Hazel Avenue went up. Hazel Avenue went straight across.
So here's the Capri. And where was
and right here.
Okay.
Was those 3 buildings.
And what was the name of the grocery store?
I believe the Baker family owned that, and it was a small grocery store. I remember my mom used to give me a nickel to go up there, and I could get more candy. And then there was a barber shop next to them. Toward Hazel Avenue, and like this way, right there. This was a store, and this was a barber shop, and this was a bar.
Okay.
And
this was before the Rainbow Bakery store went in.
Yes, way before that. Yeah. Yeah, and then across the street over here was the Chinese market, the Wu brothers. And that was an interesting story because he brought all his sons from China. You've heard that story before.
We interviewed. We called them the Wu wives.
They're neat ladies.
Yeah.
I knew a couple of them pretty well. So anyway,
because they lived there too, didn't they? Didn't they live above the store or close to the store?
When they built Capri, they had a little tiny market to begin with right on the corner.
Public market.
And then they went down below that and built this very nice Capri market. And I don't know, they probably did live there, I'm not sure, but it was big enough, it was huge. I think they did because they'd come out one at a time when you were in there, and they looked like they were kind of just getting with it for the day or something, so that makes sense.
And so where were you living at that point?
I lived on Hazel Avenue, 5947, and now it's that gray, there's a subdivision in there, gray, down the road, maybe a 1/8 of a mile down Hazel on your right. And we lived up of course when you're little you think it's quite a long driveway, and we had this beautiful oak tree over our home. And it was just, really quite pretty, and our different neighbors around us. But my brother bought our home. My mom and dad moved up to Christian Valley. And then my brother built onto it even more so, and then he sold it to this developer.
So what was the street address? It was
5947.
47 Hazel.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be easy to look up, but everything's changed. You couldn't recognize the tree even fell over last year. I heard. Like, well, things. It was hard. Our home got torn down. It was like, oh my gosh.
That is sad.
It is sad.
That's hard. So, how long did you live in this house?
We lived when I was 2 until I was 22. That's right after. And then I married, and I moved to New York, and was there for 2 years, and then LA for 2 years, and then we moved back to Granite Bay and lived there for another 2 or 3 years, and then we ended up back in Orangevale again, and that's where my youngest son was 3 and my oldest son was 6, and we lived there 4 more years, and that's right behind Cables, the Vernon Cable, that development there. Yeah, that's where we lived, in that little Orangevale. We lived about a little home there. Then we moved back.
When you were growing up, what were some of the other businesses along there?
I'm just trying to think. Those that I've just pointed out were there. My uncle owned a body fender shop, and that was, you mentioned Wonder Bread or whatever. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Rainbow or Window? Anyway, and they had, before that was ever built, they had a body fender shop. And next to them was a little gas station heading toward the other end of Orangevale was a little gas station.
Okay.
Not too far from this side of Sicardi's, but up there.
Who owned the body fender shop?
My uncle Byron Gauldin.
Byron?
Byron, Byron.
Okay.
And then right on the corner there was a what was her name now? Another little real estate business that sat right on the corner of where the Wonder Bread store was, and it was there for a long time, and they tore it down to build. They put a Safeway in, I believe, and then it didn't work. How did that go? I believe it was Safeway. And anyway, it didn't hold, and then that's when the Wonder Bread took place after that.
Came in after the Safeway?
Yeah. And I'm not sure it was Safeway, but you probably have a better record of that than I.
I don't know. I don't think I do, but I was just thinking, Evan's Body Shop was, I'm not sure when that was.
I think
there.
they may have bought that from my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
it was Gauldin and then probably Evan's.
Mm-hmm.
Evan's Body Shop. Okay, we interviewed their daughter.
Okay. I knew that. I went to school with their son, Bobby Evans. I'm not sure he's still living or not.
Mm-hmm.
They lived down on Fair Oaks, or let's see. I'm trying to think. I think it was Sunset. Sunset. I don't know. Whatever. I know where the house is.
We've got that intersection covered, I think.
Yeah, pretty much so.
The bar. I think they've talked about this bar before.
Holmes. I'm quite certain
Holmes?
that Holmes owned that bar. They lived just a few houses down.
Did you hear any story about the underground tunnel?
No. That's interesting. Huh. In Orangevale? Oh, good. That's newsy. Didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
I'll have to study that.
Yeah, I'll
We'll-
explain later.
We'll
Okay,
explain. Well,
good.
yeah, there's.
That's interesting.
So, what are your other memories of growing up in Orangevale?
Just a lot of great people. This book tells a ton about the way the communities were together, especially in their schools. And they, I can remember being in a, one of their PTA meetings or whatever, and it was in the old Orangevale gymnasium, and it was full. It was literally, they were standing room only. That's how many people were in that community that were involved. I mean, they were really involved.
So you're referring to the book that was presented to your mother,
This, yeah.
who was president of the PTA, and was that the Orangevale PTA,
Yes.
Orangevale Elementary?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And it took in all the schools, so the superintendent's in there, and the principal, and just a lot of people that if you're doing this work, you will eventually or already have heard their names. You will hear them. Dr. Manning, and he was a superintendent, and sharp guy. They had some really great people that were heading this. They kind of knew what they were doing. I'm sorry that got burnt like that. But it didn't really destroy a lot of the things. Those little, I think they came out of the school. Those orange peels. They'll be in the back more, like little newsletters. They're interesting.
They're school newsletters.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, oh gosh, what was I just going to ask you? Something about I just left my mind.
I know
I'm sorry.
that happens easily. I'm
Something
trying to
about
think
that.
of more.
So you knew was Sadie Cable?
Yeah,
around
Miss Sadie,
and
and Mrs. Perry,
Mrs. Perry.
She was the 8th grade teacher. She was quite, quite a
grade.
person in the district.
And the Wu brothers also went to school there. Was that after your? I'm trying to think of times. Were they in school with you?
No, I did not. I'm trying to think if they were with my brother. There was quite an age span in those kids.
Yes.
From Clarence, I think might have been the oldest. I'm not sure.
Did you know the Lever family?
Lever, yes.
Roger,
Carol
Lever,
and
Carol.
Roger. Yes, my mom was quite good friends with them. Their names are in there, especially Carol's.
Okay.
But I went to their home several times for these meetings that my mom had with PTA.
And
When you get in there, there's a lot of people's names that you just mentioned this one, but there are many gardeners and just a lot of people that lived there for years.
Mr. Coleman was.
Yeah, Thomas Coleman. He was a wonderful man. He just really gave a lot to the district.
So, you talked about powwow days, and you talked about riding around. and Did you have any particular toys that you were really fond of?
Let me think. Having two older brothers, we did all kinds of. I mean, like they used to hang my dolls. It was like you didn't get into dolls too much. They were like, oh, or if they didn't want me to play with them, oh, go play your dolls or something like that. So I'm just trying to think of favorite toys. I remember the first bicycle I had was, and they were just ordering them apart, but it didn't even have a handlebar, so they had a stick through it, and I drove it. I was so eager to have a bike, rode a bicycle. So probably my bicycle was my favorite thing. As I got older, I got a little better bicycle, and that just allowed me to go everywhere. And we rode to school with our bikes. We worked. Oh, I know this will spark something with you. We worked for the Tomic brothers, Fred and Tom Tomic, and all three of us kids worked for them in the summer. My brother he was old enough to drive the tractor and get the fruit, and my younger brother, who was 2 years, I lost both of them within 2 years. Anyway, and he built boxes for the fruit. He had that, and then I packed it. It was would pack peaches and plums and whatever they had. They had beautiful fruit.
And that was there on Chestnut?
Yes.
In the packing sheds?
We worked there for every summer, I don't know, from the time I was like 9 till I was maybe 14, just doing every summer. We worked hard. We worked really hard. It was a great place to learn how to work. They were neat men.
They were.
They had 4 Fred had 4 children, I believe, and Paula, he was married to Paula, who got Alzheimer's really young. Paula did.
All right, so that's Fred's children.
Timmy was one of them. He was more my age, just maybe a year or 2 younger. And then I don't remember the other little ones, but I remember him being around and whatever.
This mentions Orangevale Sportsman's Club. Were you involved with that?
No, no, but I heard of it, I knew about it. I think my dad might have been in it. And, what does it say about it there, Ken?
Not much.
No? Darn it.
Hunter safety program?
Yeah, my brothers took that
Mm-hmm.
for hunting.
How about the DeMolay?
Yeah, my oldest brother was in DeMolay, Don. Yeah.
I'd never heard of the Orangevale Sportsman's Club.
I'm trying to think where it was located. I couldn't be sadder that my older brother is gone. He just had all of this. You would have just loved it. He would have brought you up to snuff in a hurry.
So this is one of the few things that survived your house fire, or your parents' house fire. Well, that's lucky that it did.
Yeah, we do have some pictures of way back when that were burnt like this, so we can still see them. I have a lot of them. And I will go through that because this Mr. Brock that I talked about, I don't know if anybody else will talk about him or not, but he was quite a character. He really was something. I mean, it made it seem real old times just because he had to come up our driveway to go to his home, and there was a barn, and then down below was his cabin, and it was like things were pretty primitive then, but nothing like he lived. He really lived a primitive life, but helped so many people with their, when they're alfalfa and just many different things.
But it was all with horse and buggy?
That's all he had. He never had a car.
And he lived behind you? And that would have been on
Hazel Avenue. There was, now where his barn was, I believe it's a duplex, and I think it's still there.
Do you remember his first name?
Jesse.
Jess.
Jess.
Y-E?
No, it was an E.
Okay. Mr. Jesse Brock. Okay. Yeah, this is someone I have not heard of, so I'll have to bring that up.
I'll try to find the picture of him and us, and I had 2 or 3 of him. One with his plow, and my brother was helping him with that. And I think of this parade, the powwow days, way, way back. Or I don't even know if they called it that then, but they may have. I mean, this is, I was probably 5 or 6 when we were in that parade that year with him. So when did the powwow day start, do you know?
I am not sure the history of powwow days.
I know the community center, the Orangevale Community Center was there when I was a kid. And because we used to have little festivals or whatever, and different booths and things, and I was maybe 4 years old when we went to that the first time.
Are you talking about the big building?
No, it was across the street.
Right.
Little bitty
little
one. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
which I think
up
they
here.
were calling the youth building.
Probably.
Yeah, now it's...
Orangevale Youth Center. That might have been the name, the Orangevale Youth Center. It could have been when I think about it, rather than the community center.
And you mentioned earlier about the Y Indian guides.
Yes.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I'm going to try to, and I don't know as much as some of my buddies who could clear it up pretty quickly. I'm trying to think why the guys got into that. It was just, I think there is a definite club that will associate a lot of this with it if I had the information on it, because it was a pretty big deal. It was a father-son situation, and they again would have these meetings and all dress up and their headdress, and I mean it was nice. They looked good, and then all of them would get together and go off camping, and us wives just loved it. It's like, yay, they're going camping. We're gonna drink some wine, and the guys are gone with the kids. But it was very good for them, and I talked to all those kids now. There's probably 6 or 8 of them that I know of. I see them now and then, and we get together with different reasons, weddings or whatever, and they're all just pleased with that they belong to this Y Indian Guide, and it was quite a closeness for the fathers and the sons. But there's a reason for it, and that's what I can't come up with right now, and I will. I'll get that for you if you want me to.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. And those photographs would be a treasure.
Of them, because I have my husband and the boys, my sons, and I know of at least one other family that has the same. They had 3 sons that were in it, and it'll give you a good idea of how they looked. And possibly my great friend Barbara Lee, who lived in Orangevale, and she probably has more pictures than anyone else, so I'll kind of tap into her on that.
Okay. Oh, guides. They were called guides. Okay, yeah, that'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to tell us about?
Oh gosh, this can be so much, and I guess you might, I think one thing would lead to another on this, because I just remember so much about Orangevale, and it kind of comes to you in pieces. So I think what I could tell you is anytime you think you have something that I might add to, I would be so glad to. I mean, just give me a phone call or anything, and I can.
And we can come back?
Sure,
That
sure
would be
you
wonderful.
can. Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, you surely can, and I'll try to pull out some pictures of way back when, and we can put some of that
That'll be
together
marvelous.
too.
All right,
Good.
we'll be looking forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You getting anything out of that, Ken?